Your organisation runs training courses for your staff and customers. Only problem is it's time-consuming, inconvenient and costly. Take a leaf out of our book. The School of Hard Knock Knocks uses the online training platform by YZ, and our team and customers love it. It's simple to use, supports every media format, audio, video, text, and looks great on desktops, tablets and mobiles. And for a limited time, quote SHKK when you arrange a demo and get 10% off your first year's plan. YZ helps us deliver comedy courses around the world. Imagine what it could do for your organisation. YZ, that's WYZED.com. YZ, online learning made simple.
You're listening to the School of Hard Knock Knocks podcast with me, Steve Davis.
Ladies and gentlemen, your next comedian.
Shouldn't drink on an empty head, you know that, don't you?
That is the shittiest heckle I have ever heard in my life.
Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
What's a bucket list?
You have dangerously underprepared yourself for the shit that is about to get real.
What are the ingredients to become a stand-up comedian? For Cam Knight, it was larrikinism, peer group pressure, and the life of Brian. In this School of Hard Knock Knocks podcast, host Steve Davis talks to comedian and actor Cam Knight about his city-hopping comedy career, butterfly gags, and performing at the Sydney Opera House. Cam also talks about the highs of stand-up comedy touring and TV hosting, and the lows of performing to 5 people. Cam also shares his advice to up-and-coming stand-up comedians. And if you're interested in kickstarting your stand-up comedy career, Cam Knight just happens to be our guest comedian for our August 4 to 8 stand-up comedy course in Sydney. Check out www.schoolofhardknockknocks.com to book your spot. And now, here's Cam Knight.
My wife told me she thought that I had a bit of a problem with drinking. I thought I was pretty good at it, but and I didn't think I had a problem with drinking, right? And I went to the AA website, had a look. They've got a little test on there. Did the test, fucking smashed it. I got an A plus or an AAA plus, and I've never had an A plus in anything, so I had a couple of beers to celebrate. And but now I've stopped, and I've got to do exercise to distract myself, and I don't like running. I don't think there's any point in running unless it's from something that wants to kill or eat you to death, and I'm at the top of the food chain, you know? Like, and I've got a card, be like, see you later, lion. So, like, I started doing laps in the pool. Anyone here done that shit? Oh, man, it's so boring. You're just going up and down, just following this white line, which is a trigger for me. I see that and go, yeah. You know, like, that's...
Cam Knight, welcome to the School of Hard Knock Knocks podcast.
Thank you very much for having me. Hello.
Now, before we start, I believe you're a fellow South Aussie by birth, born in Cummins, I believe.
Yeah, I was.
I actually went there once to do a marketing workshop during a mouse plague. What are your memories of Cummins when you were growing up?
I don't remember a mouse plague, but it's funny. I still, the things that I remember the most are the coastline. Just along the west coast of our peninsula and the Coffin Bay National Park and Port Lincoln National Park, because that's where we used to go camping and you know, going surfing and stuff like that. The town itself, you can drive around it in about 5 minutes, I'd say. Did you stay in the pub? Where were you staying? Did you stay in town?
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it was quite a few years ago now. I'm pretty sure it was in the pub.
My house was directly behind the pub. So there was the pub, and then there was a huge dirt car park. They hadn't even cemented that. Then a street, and then our driveway up to our house was right there. One time my parents went away when I was like 15, and I did that cliche thing after they said, now don't throw any parties, that I threw a party because I had the house to myself for the weekend. And then when the pub shut at midnight, whoever was in the pub ended up at our house, and my house got trashed. My dishwasher got pissed in. People smashed eggs. There was just stuff going on. I ended up locking myself in the toilet and just sat there, just going, "This is chaos. I'm so dead. I'm dead."
Great memories.
Yeah, what a memory that was.
Absolutely. It's nice to know. It's nice to know the formative years of the comedians we talk to. Actually, one thing on that though, we've got relations over in Port Lincoln, so we're there every couple of years, which is down south from Cummins. And you mentioned the Port Lincoln National Park and lots of great places. Comedy. Growing up, big open spaces, probably knockabout mates to hang around with. What sort of impact did that have on coming up with being funny and getting good at that comeback sort of line? Do you think that environment played a role in giving you the fertile ground for the comedy career to grow in?
Maybe, I don't know. Like, I think there was a lot of larrikinism in the town. It was less than 1,000 people. Everybody knew everyone. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't a farmer's son, so I was always sort of, I don't know, you didn't feel like you were one of the town. Do you know what I mean? You were a bit different because your dad owned a shop, so you were rich. But it's like, man, we depend on you just as, we depend on you more than anything. Like, if your crops are good, we'll do well, So we were sort of seen as, I don't know, and I went away to boarding school, so that sort of, I think there was a lot of that, I don't know, you just learn to have a bit of a thick skin, I guess, a bit of back and forth. Me and my friend PJ, he lived on the same street as me, and his dad always thought that we were going to be a comedy duo because we were just idiots, and we used to record each other. Man, I reckon we were predating podcasts.
Wow.
Like, we would record each other on cassette, and we do these silly shows. I'd love to find, oh man, it'd be so funny to listen to them back. But we just do these silly, dumb interviews with each other and chatting, and then, invariably we'd end up just doing farts into it and stuff like that. But, we were always, he and I always had this just goofball sensibility. My parents got me, for my 12th birthday, they got me the Life of Brian on VHS. And I think it was just sort of from that, like, my parents have always sort of been around, they did community theatre in the town, and I was always sort of around that from about 2 onwards. Mm-hmm. And so I always would go and watch them rehearse and be involved in that. And I always harangued them. I was always like, come on, I want to get in. I want to do I want to be in a play. I want to be up there. I want to do what you want to do, what you're doing. And I never really got to do that. So, because they never found a role for me or whatever. But I think that was sort of where the seeds got planted, I guess, with stage, but also just with comedy. My parents, I mean, it's a weird present to give a kid at 12, The Life of Brian. And I think the year after that, they gave me The Meaning of Life, and I think that was Dad's way of avoiding having that conversation with me. Just like, watch this. And that was it, mate, really.
Yeah, actually, look, the thing that came out of that little answer to me was not so much the wide open spaces in the country, but also that being the outsider a little bit in the community. I think anyone listening to this who's branching into a bit of comedy, if you've come from that sort of the other within a community, maybe there's some grist for the mill, there's some material to work in there as you get a chance to observe what's going on around you slightly differently.
I think so. And I mean, I got up to a lot of mischief at school as well. Like, I just kind of, I don't know, I think there's a lot of people now who, as an adult, see what I'm doing and go, yeah, well, that was as if you weren't going to do that. Like, you were always a smart ass, or you were always in trouble, or I wasn't particularly the loudest mouth in class, but I was always the one that got caught. And I think I just sort of worked out that I could just start getting paid to be a smart ass instead of having to do algebra. That's so much better.
Okay, of course. So you did the maths well then.
Yeah.
So tell me.
Can I say though, the wide open spaces? Yeah. I still dream of those as well. Like, I miss that. Living in Sydney, always trying to find a park and the traffic, and you've got to share a beach with thousands. Like, I do. So it's so funny that I ran so very quickly away from that at 17. But now I've had kids, I just am like, oh, God, I've got to get back out there, give them a good life,
So
it's
why did you move away? What took you to Sydney?
Well, actually, I moved to Adelaide as soon as I finished Year 12. I'd auditioned to study acting at the Centre for Performing Arts. And so I auditioned right near the end of year 12, and then I got in. And so then I went to Adelaide to study. And then after that moved to Melbourne and lived there for 10 years. And then I ended up moving up here to Sydney because I was working on Foxtel. I'd landed a couple of jobs hosting a variety of different shows, and then I got a development deal with Foxtel, and then was primarily just hosting stuff on the Comedy Channel. And because they were based up here, I kept travelling up from Melbourne, and it was just getting expensive and a pain in the butt. So they just sort of suggested, it'd be a lot easier if you moved up here. So I did. So we moved up here, and then funnily enough, a year later, the Comedy Channel moved back down to Melbourne. I was like, well, I've already bought a place. I'm going to stay here. So that's how I ended up here, basically.
And look, recently you hosted a show at the Sydney Opera House called Pitch to Punchlines. Now, don't know if you're aware of this, but two of our graduates, Monica Rosenfeld and Shive Prima, they performed. How did they do?
Yeah. Man, everybody did so well. They did so well. It was a great night, I tell you. Monica mentioned that, same with Shive. They did, I think he'd done Raw as well. I don't know if Monica had done Raw, but you could tell that both of them had a bit more stage time than everyone else. But on the night, it was such a great night, like the electricity in the room, the support from everybody there, the fact that we were there raising money for Bathia, which is... it's a great foundation that helps teenagers deal with anxiety and depression. So I think everybody there was just so amped. Nobody bombed. And it was a big lineup. There was 18 acts on over the course of the night. It was huge.
Wow.
Really proud of them all, actually. They all did the job. Like, I sent them out. Like, we had 6 weeks to get them. It took me 16 years to get to the Opera House. It took them 6 weeks. So... we had to, which proves, money talks. But I said to them that I'd be there on hand whenever they wanted. They can call me, they can email me. But we just had one sort of 4-hour session a week together. So I just said, you've got to go out and do open mic. Like, you've got to go and die. You have to bomb. I need you to thicken up your skin so that you can... Because you're going to die. And you're just going to have to deal with that, then work on your material, refine it. And then also, I just kind of wanted them to feel that difficulty of what it's like to try and get material up. And then also knowing, I knew full well that the crowd would be fully backing them on the night at the Opera House. So it would feel even better, and it was. You could just tell after everybody got off stage, they just had this glow, their faces, they're beaming. It's like, holy shit, this is like a drug. I'm like, I know, right? That's why I'm down this goddamn rabbit hole so far.
Yes.
So it was good.
Looks excellent. Now, tell me, August 4th to the 8th, you're our guest comedian for our stand-up comedy course in Sydney, and you know how you like to make yourself available. I've heard that's actually going to be a pretty busy week for you outside our course. You're filming a TV show, I think. What?
I'm working on. I'm not on. I'm just helping. I'm doing behind-the-scenes stuff. I can't really say what it is, but I've got a. I basically will wrap from set and then have to run immediately over to the Foresters. I'm anticipating I may just run directly into the venue and on stage.
What an entrance.
It's going to be.
What an entrance.
I'm coming through. Yeah.
It reminds me of the old Don Lane show and Paul Hogan show. They'd often take the camera off stage and they pioneered that sort of thing. We could be doing that in the August course.
Yeah, totally. That's right. Who was that other awesome Tonight Show? What was that other behind the scenes of a Tonight Show? What's his name? Was it Gary Shandling?
Oh, yes.
You remember that?
Yes.
That was so good.
That would have been, late 80s, I would have thought?
I think
early
late
90s?
80s, early 90s. I think that was sort of paving the way for things like Curb Your Enthusiasm, I reckon.
Yeah.
Great show.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Now, talking of greatness, we've talked about the wide open spaces, the larrikinism, the urinating in the dishwasher. Your stand-up career, when did you take us through those first steps? What was the pathway you took?
Well, I was when I was in Adelaide, one of the guys who was in my class was he was already a pretty established comedian on the scene in Adelaide, and he was only 19 or something. His name's David Williams, and we did a play. He and I and a couple of others we had to put together a Greek comedy, and we did Euripides the Birds. And his boss from Comics Comedy Cellar in Adelaide, the late Dave Flanagan, came down and watched that, and he loved us as a group. He was like, "You guys are fantastic. You've got really great comic timing. Do you want jobs?" And we all just, we're 17 going. It was like, yes, of course we want jobs. So we ended up working. Dave was doing stand-up. This is when Adam Hills was still in Adelaide for SAFM, so he was, headlining, and Dave, or, emceeing or whatever, and Dave would be on. And we, the rest of us, would be this pre-show entertainment, because it's like, cabaret seating sort of thing, and everyone has a dinner before the show. It's a meal and show deal. And so we were these, wacky waiters, I guess. I was greeting everybody as they were coming in, giving them shots of alcohol and pretending to be a chef that believed that he was Elvis, I think. And then we had like a maitre d'. We had a lady who was she was an actress who was she was blind. Another one that was just a complete dimwit. And what was the other one? I can't remember. One just spoke Spanish or something. I can't remember. Anyway, I would somehow wangle my way on stage and sing an Elvis song. That would then, the blind chick would think that I was actually Elvis. She'd lose her mind, and then we'd fall in love and rush off stage, and then the actual show of comedy would start. And then me and David and one of the girls, Sally Bull, started doing improv down there. But I hadn't done stand-up. Like, I wasn't interested in doing stand-up. I just thought I was going to be an actor. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until I got to Melbourne and I was living with David. I was the only one that had a car, and I was living with two other comedians, and so I was driving them around to gigs all the time. So I was just around stand-up. And then one year, about 2 years into that, Dave just said, "You should do comedy." And I was like, I don't want to do that. And then he just booked a gig behind my back one night at an open mic, and he said, "You're on tonight, I'll put you on," because we'd just been talking about comedy. He said, "You're on." I've got nothing. He goes, "Well, do it on the way." So we walked to the gig, and in half an hour, I just bumbled together some stuff, and then got up and rambled my way through it. And then I kind of got hooked, I guess. I just started doing open mic, and then there was a club in Fitzroy that I was working behind the bar, and the manager would let me get up and do 5 minutes every weekend, which was really nice of him. And this is like, again, just before Hughesy became Hughesy, so he'd be there headlining, and I'd just jump up and do 5 and then get back behind the bar and serve people drinks and stuff like that. And it was basically, I did a much longer version of what we did for the 6-week course. Like, you just do that open mic scene until you're building up enough material to finally get paid. And then, it's like an apprenticeship. You don't get paid any money, you just get paid beer for a very long time.
Do you remember anything from that first impromptu set? Do you?
Oh, yeah, I think there was, there was one bit. God, it was useless. I think I just said, I was walking along and I said to Dave, what happens when what happens with what did I say? What is it when a caterpillar closes itself in a cocoon? Where do all its farts go? And then I just said, that's probably why it grows wings, because it bursts out of there just trying to fly. It's like, get me the fuck away from that stench. And he's like, yep, use that. And I'm like, that's terrible. That is a terrible joke. That's why this thing evolved wings, is to get away from its own farts encased in its own sleeping bag. It's ridiculous.
What a great analogy for your own career.
Yeah, it started with farts with PJ, and then it ended with farts on stage with that bit. I don't think I ever went after that one. open mic, I don't think I did that cocoon fart thing anywhere else, by the way.
Now, talking of wings, you've flown all over the country. Any particular stories or even horror stories from being in different parts of Australia?
Horror stories? No. Do you want to know live stuff? Or there was a weird situation that happened when I was shooting this TV show. A couple of years ago, I did a show called Unreal Estate on Channel 9. And we had to do, it was with Kate Langbrook, and we flew over to this remote island in far north Queensland, and you have to get like 3 planes and a boat to get there, and we'd been there for like 5 days. We were there for 5 days to shoot 8 minutes of content. So it was a bit of a holiday. It was great. Anyway, one of the nights we were drinking, had a good time, and we were out in the water, and what we thought was a log floated up next to one of the cameramen, and it was so cool. He did the most Australian thing I've ever seen. It was a bloody baby crocodile, right? And it launches at him, tries to bite him, but it scratches his arm, and he had a Great Northern beer in his hand. Am I allowed to swear in this, by the way?
I think you already have, but keep going.
Okay,
yeah.
Sorry. So he's got this Great Northern beer in his hand, and rather than do what I do, which is just panic and run, he turned to the crocodile, smacked it in the head with the Great Northern beer, and just went fuck off. And it was, I fell over. It was like the most macho thing I'd ever seen in my life. I was like, that should be an ad for Great Northern beer, if ever there was one, you know. And the next day I said to the owner of the island, I was like, you didn't tell us there were crocodiles here. What are you going to do? And he said, I don't want to kill them. I'll probably try and capture it and release it on the mainland, and failing that, I'll just shoot it in the tail. And this humanitarian in me just sort of piped up, and I was like, oh, that's a bit inhumane. Why would you do that? And he was really angry at this point. He just turned at me and he goes, well, Cameron, if I shot you in the arse, would you come back here? I was like, yeah, fair enough, mate. So that was fun. Do you want to know, like, live stuff? Or
yeah,
like,
if you've got, because you've talked about you've got a bomb. Have you ever had that experience, or any feedback afterwards at a bar somewhere when you've been out and around Australia?
The tours that I've done have been really lovely, actually. Like going to, regional centres and stuff have been quite great. Like just, Dubbo or Toowoomba was phenomenal. There was one night, and this turned into a bit, actually. The first time we went out to Griffith, we're in the town of Griffith, and it was only about half sold. There was only about 200 people in the audience, and I was emceeing. And I just said, oh, g'day, Griffith. Where's the rest of your townsfolk? And one guy at the back just shouted out, jail. And it just brought the house down. And because it was just a week prior to us getting there, the cops literally did a full sting on the town and arrested heaps of people. It was so good. And so now that's sort of turned into a bit, which I love. It's so much fun to recall that.
Actually, you mentioned the numbers there. I was actually at a show this week in Adelaide where the MC said in his opening bit, I was performing to 1,500 people last week, and here I am, there's like 40 of you here. And he was basically, wow, hello, do we actually count in your world? It was an offbeat way of trying to endear yourself to the audience by basically telling them they're worthless. You've performed to huge crowds. You've performed to rooms of 5. How do you set yourself mentally when obviously he was on a high and feeling like, why the hell am I here? How do you find that authentic bit of connection in the smaller places?
Man, it's so hard. But also I've had some of the best shows in my life to no one. I remember there was a couple of years ago. Even I was in Melbourne, and I'd been having a really good run and getting good numbers. And then just one night, I ended up with 5 people in the room, and 2 of them I knew. One of them was Ismo, the comedian, who I didn't know at the time was Ismo. And then there was just a couple who I didn't know, who were just punters who came. And I don't know, I just went, I don't care. Let's just have fun with this. And I just started riffing and mucking around and really enjoying myself. And Ismo just sat there, and he was he just pretended like every time I went to speak to him, he just said, I don't speak English. He was just trying to stay out of the show. And so it essentially just ended up being me talking to my mate and his girlfriend and this couple. And I did the show for them. I said, I'm going to do it. Should we just do it? Let's do it. You know, and I did it. And then I did a lot of crowd work. And then about halfway through, it was just ridiculous. We were just mucking around, talking and laughing. And I just I said, this would be a great Netflix special. Like, I'd love to shoot this as a Netflix special, just me with this couple, two of my mates, and this fucking guy that doesn't speak a word of English. That is the best crowd I could ever want for. This has been one of the best shows I've had, like, this whole run. I just enjoying myself with you, you know. So, I don't know, these people paid. They paid to come and see me, and, well, my two friends didn't, and Ismo didn't. So I had only two payers that night. And I just went, well, you paid. I'll give you the show. It's not. What's the point of getting up and going, I'm amazing, I've performed to 1,000 people, and I'm better than this? You know, why be that asshole? It can be heartbreaking at times if you're, you know, away from your family and you're not, you know, you haven't made as much money that night as you had hoped, and you see other people selling out or whatever, but you can't really judge yourself against other people's successes. You just got to take what you can. And, you know, there's been times that I have sold out, you know, like the Sydney Comedy Store, and that's been amazing that many people have come to see me, and I haven't even been on a panel show. That just blows my mind. But at the end of the day, if you've got a small house, you've still got people who have paid, it's better than no one turning up, because then you're just talking to yourself, and that's crazy.
Yeah. Look, that's first bit of great advice for newbies, is to just, you know, honour the fact that there are people there who've paid, no matter the number. But any other things come to your mind? If I was a newbie in the world of stand-up, any little things you'd want to whisper in my ear to keep in mind as I go forward?
I would, if I was going to whisper in my own ear, I would, and I see it a lot too, you know, don't think that you're just invincible when you're starting out, and be polite and be interested in learning from others. And, you know, like I think the best thing is, like I just said before, is don't judge yourself on other people's successes. Like, you're playing your own game, and there's going to be times where you doubt yourself, and there's going to be times where you think you deserve more or whatever, but you're never going to stop learning from doing stand-up, you know, no matter how long you do it. Like, it's not like you get to a point and go, it's not like, you know, Keanu Reeves comes out of the portal and goes, I know Kung Fu. Like, it's not like that. You're not going to go, I know stand-up comedy. There's always something. You're always going to get better at it. And I think, you know, show up, do your gig, be polite, work hard, listen to your sets, record your sets, treat it like a job. I wish I'd treated it like a job earlier. I think at the start, you're just kind of like, it's free beer and it's a party and there's girls, yay. It would have been nicer if I'd it's a bit different now, I guess. Yeah. It's a different scene.
And look,
was that helpful in any way? I just nearly got wistful. I nearly got wistful at the end there. Sorry.
I think that'll be the subtitle for this episode: an interview with Cam Knight and some wistful thoughts about stand-up.
Great.
Actually, just very quickly, your writing style, method. What's your normal routine for coming up with routines? Are you ad hoc or are you very structured?
No, so my shows, people think that I'm loose and ad hoc because I do a lot of crowd work, but when I specifically structure my shows, I have specific points where I know that I'm going to step out of that material to then go into the crowd, and then I know that I can go back and then continue on. So in a sense, it has a skeleton and a structure and a set list. And within that set list, I have placed crowd work. I know that's where I want to go out and talk to you because it pertains to what I'm talking about right now. My question will relate to, what I'm discussing or what I'm about to go into, sort of thing, and that always adds to the show, which I enjoy. But How do I write now? With kids, it's insane. So I just write notes very quickly into my phone, and then when I've got time, I will try to go for a walk and walk through it, go through my notes. That's kind of the best thing, and then I'll sit down at a computer and actually type the stuff out. Yeah.
Walking through Wistful Wisdom with Cam Knight. I think that's the new subject. Just in closing, gigs coming up. Where can people see you? Have you got anything?
Good question. Bloody hell. Where am I?
Do you know no comedians ever know the answer to that question? I don't know what it is.
I don't even know what I'm doing tomorrow, for God's sake. You know what you could do? You could go to Skipbox's YouTube site. I'm in there. They just got a bunch of money from Screen Australia for the Skip Ahead program, and they created 3 very funny episodes. The Skipbox girls are the ones that were made famous for their viral hit from the Activewear song, which I'm in. You can check that out. Monday the 24th, I'll be at Soul Trap. We're actually doing a second show for the Pitch to Punchline people to perform there. The 26th of June, I'll be at the Bayview Hotel. And then Friday the 28th, I'll be at the Sydney Comedy Festival Showcase. I'll be hosting the showcase at the Metro Theatre in the city also. And then July, oh God, look, there's lots happening. If you're in Brunswick Heads, 5th of July, I'll be up there. If you're in Port Kembla on the 12th of July, I'll be there. If you're in Gosford, 13th of July, I'll be there. My Lord, you know what? I should just put it up on my website and they can Google that. Would that be easier?
Oh, that'd be magnificent, because I was going to ask you...
I feel like you just fell asleep just then. I was like, is he still with me?
Oh, no, I was with you. I was just going to check my dishwasher. Because it's closer than the bathroom.
Oh, man, I got bored while I was saying it.
Well, actually, hit us with the website, because I'm imagining, is that the best way to contact if someone wants to book you as well?
Yeah, I should update it more often. It's camknight.com.au, but mainly what I usually do is just promote stuff on Instagram, which is I am Cam Knight, and there's also my Facebook page, which is Cam Knight Comedy, or at Cam Knight Comedy as well. So you can go there, like those things, and then you'll see that I'll regularly plug gigs on those places.
That's a beautiful thing. And look, I've even worked on the subtitle more. I'm thinking Cam Knight, the wistful comings and goings of a thoughtful... There you go. Yeah, we'll get there eventually.
Cool.
Cam Knight, thanks for being on the School of Hard Knock Knocks podcast.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.